Dramatic closing arguments today in the trial of that disabled teenager shocked and restrained for hours. The case is now officially in a jury's hands. Fox Undercover's Mike Beaudet has been covering the story for months. He was in the courtroom today. What happened today, Mike?
Maria, we've all seen that video of what happened to Andre McCollins at the Judge Rotenberg Center in Canton. Now it's the jury's turn to decide whether what happened was treatment like the school says, or if, in the words of his mother, it was torture. Jurors will have 3 videotapes to help them decide. They contain about 8 hours of footage from inside a Rotenberg Center classroom during one day in 2002. There's no question that McCollins was restrained face down for nearly 6 hours and given some 30 shocks. But the 2 sides in the malpractice case dispute just about everything else. A lawyer for the Rotenberg Center and 2 of its doctors asked jurors not to be too quick to judge that video without understanding how difficult it can be to treat clients like McCollins, who they say was violent and aggressive that day.
Certainly that video is very unsettling, but it is people that JRC cares for on a daily basis. They don't reject anybody. They take the toughest patients. And at JRC, we don't shut our eyes to the things that make the general public uncomfortable. What we do at JRC is deal with them with our hands. We deal with them directly, daily.
But McCollins' attorney came back swinging, asking why, if these shock treatments are so good, no other place in the country besides the Rotenberg Center uses them.
If he asks for help, he's crying out, "Help me," and no, and screaming, they shock him. If he's scared and he tenses up, they shock him. Ask yourself, is there any more vulnerable position to be in other than the one that Andre was in that Friday afternoon? Lying there, legs spread, face down, and getting shocked for screaming, and getting shocked for being afraid. What did they want Andre to do? What could he have done to stop them?
Now, the jury not only has to decide whether Andre McCollins' treatment that day was good, they also have to decide whether, as his lawyer says, he's still damaged from what happened, or, as the Rotenberg Center says, he's recovered from that day. Maria?
Mike, can you tell what's been the jury's reaction so far?
Well, jury got the case about 3:30 in the afternoon. The trial has lasted for 2 weeks, so jurors have a lot of material to consider. They've already made a few requests. They want a TV and a VCR so they can watch the video of the shocks. They also want a transcript of the judge's lengthy jury instructions which deal with the law and how it should be applied.
That's interesting. They also had a question about why the Judge Rotenberg Center isn't named as a defendant, right?
That's right. The jurors are being asked to decide if 3 psychologists were negligent in their care of McCollins. But in a question to the judge, the jurors said they thought the center itself was a defendant. So what's this mean? It's hard to know. Maybe the jurors think the Rotenberg Center was in fact negligent, but aren't sure if each psychologist was in fact negligent. But it's still early in the deliberations. I'm Mike Beaudet for Fox Undercover.